Hello, Trojan fans. Welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast on a Sunday. Yes, it's Sunday after USC game day. The Trojans defeat the Missouri State Bears 73-13. We have the coach, Harvey Hyde, usually like we get him right after the game, sometimes on Mondays. Sometimes on Sundays. This one's on a Sunday, most of the times on Mondays. But this is a very unique show. It's for a couple of reasons. One, this is year 30 for me covering the USC Trojans. So I started this USCFootball.com little thing back in 1996. So this will be my 30th season starting to cover the team. Unfortunately, I was sick yesterday and I wasn't able to go to the Coliseum, but feeling a lot better today. But it's also unique because we've been doing the podcast with Coach Harvey Hyde since 2008. And this is the very first time we are shooting the podcast simulcasting on YouTube. We're doing it on video. So we get to see the lovely coach in his secret abode over there in Catalina Island, but we get to see on camera. Coach, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. This is the first, and with all the modern technology that's going on, you said, I think it's time, Coach. I think it's time for you to go to a low-cut shoe rather than wearing the high tops that you've been wearing for years. And it's time to come on and be with us the real job and do the real thing. So you told us how to do it. So I went out and bought me a headset, and I got my wife to help me get set up. And I had a guy come over and teach us how to do it. And now we're ready to go and play a game. The modern era is here. And again, I like looking at you when I'm talking to you. And all you out there, I apologize for wearing my eyes, but in case I need to read something, I've got to look over and grab the paper and be able to correspond with you the proper way.
No problem, Coach. It's great. We'll try it out. Hopefully the people enjoy it. And we do have to talk about this opener for USC. We have some questions, email, and we have voicemails. And if you listen to Coach Harvey Hyde and you've never watched him on video, we actually I've downloaded a bunch of photos from the game. So as we're talking about the team, we can kind of show you some of the action in still form as we talk about what transpired. If you have questions or comments for the show, we're going to start to get questions again. We got an email specifically for Coach Hyde, so we love to hear from you for that stuff. Podcast at uscfootball.com. You can also call or text us at 424-254-9141. Leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text. We have one of our more pessimistic listeners, Coach, who I don't know how people aren't happy with a 60-point win, but some people aren't. Okay, we'll let them rant a little bit. And you can follow us on any of the podcasting platforms like Apple or Spotify. You can leave us a 5-star rating on either platform. And on Apple, you can leave us a review, which is great. You can also leave comments for individual shows. So if you like the Coach Harvey Hyde show, you're listening on Spotify, go to the app and leave us some comments. And we'd love to hear from you, and we can read them later on the show. You can also get all of Coach Harvey Hyde's content at his website, harveyhyde.com, or follow him on the socials. And if you're watching on the video, you can see his social right there for X, Coach Harvey Hyde. Well, Coach, big intro there, but it's good to hear and see you again. And like I said, I wasn't able to be there in person, but I got to watch at home. Hopefully I'll be back. I'm feeling a lot better now, but I was feeling bad on Tuesday, and then I got better Wednesday and Thursday. Got bad again on Friday, and I just was not feeling up to it on Saturday. So hopefully I'm back. But I want to get your take on the game. I know you got a lot of thoughts on what transpired in the Coliseum on Saturday evening.
Well, a huge weekend of college football, I'll tell you. And I didn't go to the game because I didn't want to miss any other games as far as the things that are going on in college football and be able to care about some of the other games that down the road USC will have to play, and the great game with Ohio State and of course, Texas, LSU, Clemson, all of these great contests that were out there. You know, Ryan, I do a 12-pack, as you know, and I have to rank the top 12 teams in the country as far as the way I look at them. And I released that 12-pack, and the number one team I would put each week is the team I at least want to play this coming weekend. So I have to see the teams to be able to evaluate them and so on, and I had an opportunity to do that yesterday. I still have a game to watch today in the Notre Dame-Miami game to be able to complete my poll. But it was very important for me to be able to watch a lot of teams play the complete game or as much as I could the first opening weekend of college football with these great matchups. And the thing that, in a way, bothers me more than anything as far as the USC matchup with Missouri State, USC could have been included in that matchup nationally if they'd have kept the Mississippi game. Can you imagine the Coliseum with those great matchups that went on yesterday in a 4:30 kickoff against Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and USC and Lincoln Riley? It'd have been crazy. The whole nation would have been watching it. And when you look at it, now, there isn't a loser in the game. Was there a loser in the game between LSU and Clemson? Just a great football game that went down to the last seconds. I mean, the Ohio State, Texas, there wasn't a loser in that game. Those teams are still going to be in my top 12 teams. But I can't put USC in my top 12 teams. But they didn't really show me anything with their game yesterday that can convince me that they're the real deal when you play Missouri State. I mean, I absolutely felt sorry for the players at Missouri State, the coach on the sideline, the beating they got. And remember that those kids have to go home. They've had fall camp. They've got to go back to their campus and walk around campus and feel the bumps and bruises and the comments and read the newspaper back where they're from about how bad they looked and how bad they got beaten. USC, scores 73 points, was the second highest point ever scored by a Trojan football team. I think if they'd have known they were that close, they'd probably tried to score another touchdown. But I don't know what you really accomplished playing that game. I think I enjoyed more when they had the scrimmage on a Friday morning when we were all there, watching them go against themselves and evaluating the players, than I did yesterday, Ryan. It was a very difficult day for me, and at the end of the game, it became really boring.
Yeah, I think it wasn't the most exciting game, Coach, for everybody out there. If you just wanted to have a good time and just watch USC pile up some points, mission accomplished. I think, to me, it didn't look like this was a team, and maybe you feel differently. Like, were they trying to just score as many points as possible? I mean, they ran 57 offensive plays and averaged 10 and a half yards per play. So it didn't seem like, there's some teams where, like maybe the old Florida teams, where you're throwing bombs at the end trying to put up points. I mean, they had a walk-on defensive back score. I mean, they didn't score, but he almost scored, but he had an interception. You have King Miller, a walk-on running back, like, to score a touchdown in a game. I looked back, and Shaka and I looked back. We haven't found a walk-on scoring a touchdown for USC in at least 20 years, and I don't know how far back it goes from that. It didn't feel like this was like, hey, let's try to run it up and make them feel bad. It just felt like this team was so overmatched, and it's almost like anything USC did, it just worked. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
I do. And I don't know if we really became a better football team by playing that game. I think the morale, as far as everybody being able to play and get a turn and all of that, is good. But did you really prepare yourself for the Big Ten and make yourself a better football team when you can go in on film today and break down all the blocks against great players that are playing against you and evaluate it? Ryan, they aren't trying to run it up. They just, any play they wanted to run worked. So it wasn't like, occasionally they would stop them and so on, but it was just a complete mismatch, as you said, and I don't know just how much they got out of it as far as playing that football game. And as I mentioned to you earlier, if they'd have made it some type of a contest like the Mississippi game, I would have really been able to evaluate them, how good they are when they're going to play in the Big Ten. And I'm sorry they got out of that game, or a game such as that, because next week, how much are you going to get out of your Georgia Southern game? They were beaten badly last night, I think 42-17 or something by Fresno State, and Fresno State the week before got beaten badly by Kansas. So I don't know just how much you can get ready for Purdue on the road and Michigan State and so on when you have less than a scrimmage when you play a football game.
Yeah, I think getting what USC got out of it, I think, is a good topic for us to discuss, because this was, of the first two openers of two teams that are, lower division, at least group of five. Like, this was a Missouri State team that last year was FCS, and USC is still the only team that hasn't played an FCS school, but they moved up from Missouri Valley Conference to Conference USA, and they'd played, FBS opponents before. The Petrino family's, really involved. Bobby Petrino was the head coach. You got kids on the team. The head coach, Ryan Beard, married his daughter. Like, there's a lot of Petrino connections. So, some big time names in college football. But this was, a huge step up, and if you're playing a 6-6, FBS team from last year, you're like, okay, you got a shot. But USC did seem to get better, and they certainly took care of business there. But I looked at this. I do like 3 keys to victory, Coach. Just sort of looking at, you're not looking at what you need to do to win a game like this. It's more about what I wanted to see. And I wanted to see USC and Jade Mayava not turn the ball over. I didn't want to see the starting quarterback have any turnovers. He didn't. I wanted to see the USC defense get at least 8 tackles for loss, because that was a area of deficiency last year. They got 8 in the first half and 13 for the game, and I wanted to see Hassan Longstreet throw a pass before the end of the third quarter. He started the third quarter because they were up so much. So that's what I kind of wanted to see USC accomplish, and they did all those in spades. I don't know, can you still take something away from it, knowing that last year your quarterback had great moments and then some bad ones, and this was an opportunity for him to just have a clean sheet. The defense wasn't able to get tackles for loss, tackles in the backfield. They did all that. And if you get the backup quarterback throwing passes in the third quarter, I felt, okay, you must be doing something right. And obviously they were when he started the second half. So that's I thought there were some good takeaways from it. But I don't know, because the opponent's so overmatched, if you feel like those actually mean something, or maybe the defense won't have tackles for loss when you play, a real team in the Big Ten.
No, I agree with you, what you're saying. I do. You've got to improve. You got to go against live competition. And you've got to be able to improve by avoiding a rush or running the football against great defensive linemen and becoming very physical. And if it's a 4th and 1, being able to bulldoze it in there, or whatever it has to be, or a third down conversion, or work on your 2-minute drill, or do things that are necessary to win games. And I don't know how much they worked on their kickoff coverage. I don't know how much they worked on anything else in the kicking game. I don't even know how many times they punted in the game. They might not have punted ever. I didn't even look at the stats. But you've got to be able to work your entire team.
Coach, real quick, sorry. 0 punts. so you didn't get the punt.
That's why I said I don't know if they even punted in the game. I couldn't remember.
No.
So you really didn't have a chance to work on a lot of things that are necessary as far as being a part of a great football team. And it's done. They're 1-0. If you bet on them, you're halfway towards your goal, or not halfway, but if you bet, you got to win 8 games, and you got 1. So if you're a betting guy, that helps you there. But if you're a guy that wants to see if you really got better, I don't see how you really evaluate the players in this as far as the depth chart is concerned and all of the above, because they all did well. I mean, every back that touched the ball did well. All the quarterbacks did well. I mean, they weren't put in a position where they had to perform something, but they didn't need to. So I think that's what you had to look for as far as, turnovers. There wasn't any really turnovers I can remember.
Just the one. Longstreet
one
had
turnover.
that one fumble. Yeah, he fumbled that sack fumble. He put his arm back and literally hit the helmet of a defender that was behind him that he didn't sense or didn't know, and it fumble. And then Elijah Veracona jumped on the ball and he had it under his stomach, but he didn't put his arms on it, and then the defender took it away. So kind of a bad luck turnover there, but that was the only one.
Well, that's the way I would go into my meeting today, and I wouldn't give him a lot of credit to anybody as far as accomplishing a lot. I'd say we went out and we got a W. And I think that's what we play the game for. If I was coaching today and I was having a staff meeting, I'd say our X was bigger than their O, so don't think that we're world beaters. We're not world beaters. We would have had a better game if we played each other. Now let's see how good we can get during the week when we go against each other. And I'd have some full skirmishes during the week. I would, to give guys conditioning. They didn't get the conditioning they need to play in the Big Ten when they have to go 60 plays themselves or play on defense 60 plays themselves. I wouldn't make it easy for them. I'd make it serious, but you don't know really how they're going to approach the Georgia Southern game. And then I'll tell you what, Barry Odom will be waiting for them at Purdue because he'll want to get another big win for him. He opened up with a big win over Ball State, 31-0, and he's a winner. And to play them at home, people love to play SC in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a huge game for them. So they better get better, and they got to be ready to go, and all of the above.
Yeah, I think it's a good point with the conditioning. I thought Georgia Southern would be the better of these two teams, and I know some people on the Peristyle, our message board over at USCFootball.com, were saying they watched Georgia Southern play, and after watching Missouri State play, they're like, I don't know if Missouri State's not better than that team, which is not so. I mean, one tomato can is one thing, but you felt like Georgia Southern would be competitive. They went to a bowl last year and things like that. Of course, it's the return of Clay Helton, but the game conditioning is interesting because the starters didn't get a lot, but maybe it's a buildup and maybe this is good for this team. We'll see. But the player evaluation, I thought what your point was interesting because I know Lincoln Riley really praised the running back room, and I tweeted out like 4 plays into the game, all right, we haven't seen the running backs yet because there was 4 straight pass plays. And as soon as I tweeted that, like Wayman Jordan broke off like a 25-yarder and then a 5-yard touchdown run. And you get to see like Wayman Jordan. You're like, all right, that guy looks pretty darn good. And then we saw the long catch touchdown from Eli Sanders, and that was impressive. And following up the Wayman Jordan touchdown, you had a Brian Jackson touchdown. So the homegrown running back for USC, and Jaden Mayava scored on the ground a couple of times. You had Husan Longstreet score, and it seemed like they were running the ball really well. But then, like you mentioned, like King Miller scored a touchdown, the walk on. You're like, okay, well, what can we take away? Like, how can you evaluate the running backs when every time one of them touched it, it seems like you could score? So I don't know. Can you evaluate from that, saying, hey, look, these guys look good, or if up and down the depth chart, everyone did well. It's really hard to come to any conclusions.
Well, you try to evaluate them. The way I evaluated them, Ryan, is I think they're talented, okay? But anybody could run through a hole like they had. That doesn't show me anything as far as how physical you could be and so on, and we know they can be. I thought that they really had nice move, good team speed, or good backfield speed. I think you do have a nice running back room. But again, you've got to decide, too, during the season, what backs you're going to run and who's going to be the man. You got to have someone who's going to be the man, just like they had Reggie Bush, Lindell White, who's the 1-2 guys. You can't go with all 5 guys or all 4 guys. So you've got to be able to give them a lot of experience to be able to read the blocks, understand what's going on. They're going to have to bounce off plays when the hole isn't there where it's supposed to be. They're going to have to do the reads and use their blockers downfield. The blockers are going to have to be able to use their reads to be able to adjust to them and not get holding penalties when you're downfield. So I evaluated the talent as far as the running backs is how good are they? How good were they on pass blocking? How good were they on some of the techniques that are necessary to be a great back? Anybody could look great as far as the holes and what they did as far as running the football and catching that screen pass and going down the sideline and doing those type of things when you're just out racing somebody. So I think they ran it well. Don't get me wrong. That had good timing that last, I think it was the last touchdown of the game or whatever. But that was a nicely run play. But I can evaluate it as saying, don't look back when you're an offensive lineman. Look down the field. You coach off of that. Anybody behind you, you're not going to make a block on anyway, or you're going to clip him. So get down the field and do your blocking. So you can do a lot of coaching off of the film, but I had to be able to evaluate the talent of the running backs rather than how tough they were or when they got hit. What was their second level as far as the extra yards they got once they were hit at the line of scrimmage or at the 2-yard when they're going down the field. So I didn't have that chance to evaluate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you liked, I mean, the offensive line was a big question, and and there was probably some mess ups here or there, but it seemed like overall the line did pretty good. Again, if you can just overwhelm the opponent in front of you, I don't know how much you can evaluate, but You mentioned like don't look, you're blocking downfield. That's a good thing if you have to be blocking downfield, but like don't look back. Was there anything else you could kind of pull away from how the line maybe played together or gelled? Because this really came together the last week. We weren't really sure, especially with the late, exclusion of DJ Wingfield, like how this line would pull together. But any kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think people should make a big deal on the losing of this kid from Purdue. I mean, that's it. He's gone. And who can tell me he's going to start at USC? I mean, he didn't play it down. You don't know how good he is. I didn't evaluate him at Purdue. Why did he leave Purdue? All of the above. So you can't look back and talk about the people you didn't get or they didn't play or the judge didn't rule in your favor. You got to move on. Got to move on. You can't talk about those people anymore. It's like when somebody gets hurt, next man steps up. They certainly do pass the eye test. Okay, they are big, they're physical, and so on. And what I try to evaluate in offensive linemen is their agility. Do they have athletic ability? Can they run? Can they get in front of the ball carrier? Can they trap? Can they get back off the ball as far as pass blocking? And a couple of them could do a good job on that. Now, I saw a couple, and I'm not going to point out their names and so on, that had trouble getting back in a pass block type of situation and did some lunging, or the guy got by him. And I'm concerned about when they play against a great defensive rush guy, if they can get into position and keep him out as far as giving the quarterback time to make a read and throw the ball down the field. And when a guy does that, you got to run inside of him and trap him and do different things to help that type of lineman that's getting beat by a great athlete, so they can't come up the field because he's more worried about a trap jaw or something that, he takes himself out of the play. So you've got to be able to evaluate him that way. And that's the way I watched them yesterday, the offensive linemen. They played a lot of different linemen. I evaluated techniques. I evaluated how they got off the football, how they did their blocking, their drops. Can they run? All of that. So it was difficult because I didn't see him play much smash mouth because it really didn't have to play any smash mouth.
Yeah. I mean, only 57 plays and you scored 73 points. It's a lot of it's a lot.
Right.
It's very efficient. So, yeah, there's not much you could critique there. On the other side of the ball, you had a USC defense that only gave up 13 points, scored a touchdown. Let me see. Pull up the 5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. Like I had mentioned, they had a pair of turnovers forced. The other interception I talked about, Garrett Pomerantz, the walk-on, that had that interception. Just 224 yards, and that ended up being 3.9 yards per play. And when the Bears tried to run the ball, 2.2 yards per rush. So a lot of that's if you got 13 tackles for loss. I mean, there's a lot of negative plays there. But what did you think overall of the way the defense played? Like I said, I was looking for more tackles in the backfield. They certainly delivered. USC was, I think, 119th in the country last year, Coach. 4.08 tackles for loss per game. So significantly better than that against, yes, an overmatched opponent. But it seemed like there was a lot of activity in the backfield. It seemed like the defensive front was deeper and stronger and faster and all that. But what was your evaluation overall on the defensive side?
Well, when my X is bigger than your O, it comes down to the same old thing. In most cases, I'm going to win. I've got 4 stars and 5 stars, and I don't know how many 3 stars they have on their team. Not to take anything away from those kids, because they fought hard. But your guys should dominate their guys. It's automatically. If you recruit properly and develop those players properly, they should be able to dominate on the line of scrimmage and get the number behind the plays at the line of scrimmage and sacks and so on that they got. I was a little disappointed that they didn't get more on the rush. They weren't that quick, I thought, off the ball. I thought the defensive ends got off the ball pretty good, but I expected them to be in the backfield quicker. The defensive front, it was hard for me to evaluate too. It just was tough for me to evaluate when you dominate someone. The linebackers, I tried to watch them. I think they lined up properly. Gentry again. I don't know how many tackles he made and so on, but the ones I saw him make on runs were not on the line of scrimmage. They were back off the line of scrimmage. after 2 or 3 yards gains, and also he would do blitzing, but then he'd stop and drop back out when he saw he couldn't get in there and someone picked him up. Stevens, I think he's going to be a good player. I really do. I think he's going to be a good player. He just has to get more playing time. And he has to play against good people to come out at him. And the defensive front has got to be able to keep those people off of him so he can make tackles on the defensive line of scrimmage. So the secondary, I don't know. I couldn't see them very well. I know they broke down once for a touchdown and so on. They played a lot of guys, so guys got a lot of experience. Ramsey, I don't have to tell you anything about him. I think he's a great player and the leader back there. So I need to hear my comments on him. But I don't know. I don't know how good they are on defense, because how good was Missouri State's offense? I mean, so again, it comes down to evaluation of they'd have done better off scrimmaging themselves.
Yeah.
Because they'd have been able to pressure themselves more and get more out of it than going against somebody that they're going to dominate and you really don't know what you're playing against.
Yeah, I think quarterback, I think they had a good quarterback. It was someone that was recruited at the FBS level and stuff, but I think the lines were both suffering and didn't have quite the skill guys that to help out. Braylon Shelby ended up having 3 tackles for loss. He had a couple of sacks. Cameron Fountain, people are excited to see him. He had a sack, and the Notre Dame transfer, Kennedy Urlacher, got in there for a sack, and Judea Abasiri, who just looks great coming off the bus. He had a sack. Of course, the picks, Bishop Fitzgerald, pick 6. He's a kid that transferred in at safety from North Carolina State. Just seemed like a leader. Like, if you didn't have a Kamari Ramsey, he feels like that could be your guy. But there was a lot of, with so many guys getting rotated in. The tackle leader was Elijah Newby, who had moved from linebacker to defensive line back to linebacker. He had 5 total tackles. Shelby had 4. A bunch of guys had 4, including Desmond Stevens, who you mentioned. Eric Gentry had 3. But there just wasn't the same kind of need, because there's just so many guys. If you played in the first half a lot, you probably didn't play in the second half, So it was kind of one of those things where you're like, all right, like, how much can you evaluate? But I think some of the stuff that I saw that I thought, okay, I think Bishop Fitzgerald's going to be a player. Obviously looked like, he could be a guy. And it seemed like thought the defensive line would be a lot more active. They were deeper. So you can get little things out of it. But Coach, I guess, if they don't do anything like that, anything close against a Purdue team on the road that's more of the bottom of the Big Ten, I guess that's where we're going to probably learn the most. Because even next week, I'm not sure that you're going to learn a ton. Georgia Southern not being that good. There could be a thing where Fresno State already played a game. Even though they got pummeled, you figured some stuff out. Georgia Southern had to come across the country, and maybe they didn't figure some stuff out. They'll be able to stay in California and maybe play USC better than they played against Fresno State. But I'm not sure if we're going to know that much until you play better athletes like you're going to get at Purdue, even though Purdue's not a good Big Ten team probably.
Well, Purdue would be better than what people think. Believe me. He's a good recruiter and put a lot of people together. And he's a tough guy to beat, okay? He's hard-nosed. He's a great head football coach. He's got a great defensive coordinator. He took USC's offensive line coach and made him his offensive coordinator, and I thought he did a great job yesterday. So I'm anxiously waiting to see exactly what happens. I don't know what you accomplished off of yesterday's game. You got a W. Now, don't get me wrong. W's are really important. But as far as getting to be a better football team and evaluating your personnel, there was a lot of celebration going on the sideline, and everybody excited, which is good. But again, you have to be realistic on just what you did and what you accomplished. And I think he's got to address that today with his team meeting, or whenever he has that team meeting, is, okay, guys, we went out and got a W, but what do we have to do to become better and maybe beat a Purdue, a Michigan State, a Michigan, some of the people that are down the line. And that means we get back in the weight room, and that means we work harder, and that means we got to get better, because they didn't do everything perfect, believe me, the way it looks on the scoreboard. So this is where they are. This is what they scheduled for. So they got to take it, do what they need to do to get better along the way. And Georgia Southern will get smashed the same way, because when you live in a hotel room and practice on some high school field or whatever you're doing, you're not in the same element. You don't have the same equipment. Your mind isn't there. I've done that before when we used to come over from Hawaii and have to stay a week and practice somewhere. It's too much of a distraction. You're in the hotel too long. You have different type of academic studying going on. It's a different environment. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think they'll want to beat Clay Helton. I mean, let's say poor Clay is going to come down there and he's going to get shaved. Okay. and they're going to send him home.
Yeah. A lot of fans. I don't know this for sure, but Pete Arbogast on the radio broadcast, which I was trying to listen to both watching TV, he had said that they were going to stay in Oxnard and practice at the Rams facility. So, but he'd also mentioned like they might go to like the beach and maybe to Disneyland. So there could be some of those distractions and stuff too. But yeah, not a good show. Maybe game 2, you get better. Fresno State did lose, but they got to play a game before in week 0. So I don't know. We'll see.
And that makes a difference, Ryan. That makes a difference. Believe me.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. But I think USC will be a little motivated for this. I don't know. The players I don't think they really care, but the fans are going to care. And there's going to be mixed people. There's a lot of people that feel like, hey, Clay Helton's a really nice guy. But there's a lot of people that are just like, he set our program back decades, and so there's people that are upset that are going to want to see. They were talking about on the message board. They want to see him put up more points than what they did on Saturday. I don't know. We'll see. But the way that went, that was pretty crazy. Why don't we take a quick break, Coach, and we'll come back in a minute and we'll discuss a few more things. Back in a minute, everybody. All right, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. We didn't really take a break there, but we took a break in the podcast world, which we normally do. But it's great to be able to reach some different people with Coach Harvey Hyde. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Harvey Hyde, as you can see on the screen, or go to his website, harveyhyde.com, for all of his content. We break down USC football games every year, and Coach and I have been talking since 2008. He was on the very first episode of the Peristyle Podcast. That's how it all started, 2008, here on the podcast. So that's crazy. One of the things I wanted to mention, Coach, and this was in the offseason, USC ended up bringing in Tremaine Carroll. So he is the new strength and conditioning coach. A little weird timing-wise that waited till after spring football. But we've heard a lot of rave reviews. And to be fair, it's hard to get anything but rave reviews when you hire a new strength and conditioning coach. It's always everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. There's a lot of hyperbole, whatever. I mean, it's fine. But we saw some things that were different. I mean, we heard the story a number of times. The very first workout, they couldn't even get through stretching. And he talked about that in interviews and stuff. It was like, hey, we got to do things right. You can't just lollygag in here and pull your hamstring, whatever. Like he has a way of doing things. And Lincoln Riley was asked about this particular topic when USC came off the bus and did the Trojan walk and all that. They weren't wearing individual things. They were all dressed the same, and it looked like a team. And Lincoln Riley mentioned before it was more like NFL style, where players could wear individual fashion and things like that. And this was not. And Lincoln Riley said he asked the players if they minded if this went away. I think this came from Tremaine Carroll, coach, where, he's like, that's not how we enter the stadium. It's a privilege to go to the Coliseum. We want to enter it all as a team. And so that's what they did. I felt that as soon as I heard this, I'm like, Coach Harvey Hyde's going to love it. But I wanted to get your thoughts on no more. The kids call it drip check, Coach. Like, what's the fit? What's the fashion that the players are wearing? No more of that entering the Coliseum.
Well, I think he brings a quality of being at Kansas State where they do everything right. If you ever watch their uniforms, and Bill Snyder, who used to be the head football coach, taught these guys They even come on the field, hold their hands when they come on the field, and hold their hands when they go off the field after the other team goes off the field. And they give that family feeling that we all pray together, we all eat together, we all win together, we all lose together. And I think that's a little bit of something that's been missing at USC. The NFL approach is for the NFL, it's not for college football. If you watch Ohio State play, they all wear the same shoes, the same socks, the same helmets, all the T-shirts are the same color. Whether you're a first-team player or second-team player, you all look the same. All the coaches on the sideline are all wearing the same thing, and they're wearing the school colors. They dress with pride of who they represent on and off the field, in the airport, and everywhere they go. People know who they are when they see them. And I think it's something that's been lacking at USC, and I've told you that. I just think I've told you that the NFL style, you wear what you want. If you want to wear red shoes, okay, they're going to fine you. So what? Fine me $12,000 for wearing these shoes that are different colors because of the money these players make. But it's an individual type of thing, and in college, it's not an individual type of thing. You represent the university, you represent your team, you represent the conference, you represent everybody. And I think you should dress that way. I mean, it's like you're going to a prom. It's like you're going to a special event. You've practiced thousands of hours for only 12 hours of activity. And you've got to look the same. You've got to look the best on the sideline, everything you do. And in the past, that has not been the U.S. way. And you know that. I'm glad you said that because I've mentioned it many, many times as far as I used to say, pull up your socks, put your toes on the line, and be a rebel or be a lancer or wherever I was. And it starts before you put a ball on the field, Ryan. It starts the way you sit in a classroom. It starts the way you eat at training table. It starts the way you treat people. And I think that's part of understanding that the program is bigger than you. And once you get that across to players, they have to understand that when we say that we're going to wear this type of shirt or this type of uniform, or you're not going to play, you got to be willing to back that up because they represent the university. And now they came on the field. If you watched Oregon come on, not on the field, if you watch Oregon get off the bus, if you watch a lot of these teams get off the bus, you look immediately to see how they look and what they're wearing. Some teams are still wearing coat and ties as far as going to their arena to play. So I think it was good that they're wearing the same thing. It takes time. Like Nick Saban used to say, am I the only two that's out here on the practice field to see these guys' shirts aren't tucked in? And he would jump on his coaches 100%. He says, I'm not the only guy out here that enforces the rules. You guys enforce the rules, or I'll get somebody else that wants to enforce them with me. So now you've got to look to see who wore them and who didn't wear them, and you've got to be able to mention to them, hey, the next time you don't wear what we tell you to wear, you're in for trouble. You might sit out a quarter. It might be like I don't want to make it a penalty, but kids have got to understand you mean what you say, and the kids voted on this.
Yeah.
Torino said that they voted on it. They came to and they want to look as a team. Well, then look as a team. Everybody didn't look as a team when I watched them in their game uniform. I mean, everybody didn't have their jerseys tucked in. Everybody didn't have all the same gear on. But they've got to get this straightened away if they want to be a team that's good at everything they do and represent the university on and off the field. And I'd like to see them. Honestly, I don't know where they get this color that they wear, this black color. I don't know where I saw that ever in any type of school colors for UNLV. And if you can't wear cardinal or gold, wear white. Wear white with a nice thing on the front that says Trojans, and you have your number on it. I remember I bought all our players. They had sweats they wore in scarlet or white, and they had their number on it so people knew when they walked in. Have pride, walk in. You don't have to have a hoodie on. Nothing against hoodies. That's the worst thing I think that was developed in sweatshirts. But come in and let people see what you are and who you are and recognize you. Don't hide who you are. Be proud of who you are. And I think this is something that kids need to hear as part of education. And if they decide to do that, it's not their fault. It's not their fault they wear those like that. It's because somebody didn't explain to them why it's best they don't.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, the gray or dark coloring is okay, but it has the USC logo on it. It's Nike product that they represent. I don't mind like colors or whatever. I think it's cool that they all wore the same thing. There were some really crazy outfits, and not that it's the end of the world, but that's something you had talked about. And I know some people, when we would bring it up, they're like, "Oh, that's you guys are too old school. This is what the kids want." But it did seem to help. It did seem to kind of bring people together, and it's just little thing, doing all little things right, and as a team, I think it helps this team chemistry, and they just didn't seem to have many flaws on Saturday. And having a strength coach like Tremaine Carroll, who's like, this is how we do things, this is how we all do things, and there was just, it seemed like a better sense of discipline. And whatever he said, if he told everyone to wear like pumpkin hats on, and they all wore pumpkin hats, I mean, it's silly, but if everyone's doing the same thing because this is what the team is doing, it seemed like that was the important part of it. And it seemed like the guys got it, and it helped.
Let me ask you, Ryan, whose responsibility is to tell the team what to wear? Is it the head football coach?
It would be the head football coach.
I would think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Why does the strength coach have to come in and say, I think we should wear the things that represents our university? And the head football coach is saying, let's take a vote. What do you mean vote? We don't vote around here. This is our football program. There are no votes. My vote is bigger than everybody's vote. You forget. I'm the head football coach here, okay?
I think Riley could have vetoed
voting.
anything. I'm sure he could say whatever he wants. He's the head coach. And I'm not sure that it wasn't just a collaboration where, so they bring in their strength coach and he likes the disciplined style, and him and Lincoln Riley sit down. I mean, who knows? Maybe with Chad Bowden, the GM. I'm not sure if there was some like, hey, here's something we can do. Should we do this? And I'm sure.
Well, absolutely, you should do that. Let me tell you, have you ever seen Penn State and the way they wear their uniforms?
Yeah, that's.
You watch Penn State? Do they have anything that? What do you? Huh? Have you watched?
Very old school. Yes, it's.
Have you
this
seen
way.
Ohio State? Have you seen Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Have you seen Nebraska? Have you seen Alabama? Have you seen Auburn? Have you seen all these other schools? Do they wear anything they want to wear? No, and those are the best football programs in America. And if you want to be a football team, everybody doesn't have its own itinerary of what time the bus leaves. The bus is leaving at 11 o'clock, okay? Now, we're not going to take a team vote. You might want to sleep in. But we're not going to let you sleep in, okay? So there's got to be someone who makes strong decisions, okay? And that normally comes from the big office, okay?
Yeah.
The big office makes those decisions. And
that's all
I'm saying.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Well, we have a voicemail to get to. Let me play it for you. Don, I don't think Don was very pleased with this game. I'm not sure what you can do. You win by 60 and you're not happy, but here we go.
This is Don from Chicago for Coach Hyde. I haven't called in a long time, but I just couldn't resist. Coach, wouldn't you agree with me that this game was an abomination? It was one small step above playing against air. I mean, who is Mo State? Who scheduled this game? It tells us absolutely nothing about our team, despite all the hype from Yogi Roth and others. And seeing the Coliseum empty was embarrassing for any longtime Trojan fan. What gives, Coach? Don from Chicago.
Wow.
Well, Don, I think we more or less summarized a lot of your thoughts here early in the podcast. I hope we've covered it. But I agree with you. We talked about it. It could have been a game yesterday that went across the country like all those other great games, LSU, Clemson, Texas, Ohio State. I mean, great football games like today, Notre Dame and Miami. It could have been headlined like that. And that's what it should be at USC. You bring your lunch, I bring my lunch, and we'll just sit out there and slug it out. And we'll find out who eats first. And that's the way you attacked it. And if one team beats the other team, they're still a great team, and they're not going to be eliminated from the playoffs. They're not going to be eliminated from winning a Big Ten championship. They became better. They found out what they needed to do to play for a national championship or a Big Ten school. And they found out who's not going to back away, a player that, man, he hit me hard. I don't know if I want to get hit like that again. you have a chance to evaluate a coach when he's under pressure. When it's 4th and 1, are we going for it or aren't we going for it? And what are we going to do? You saw Sarkisian go for it at 2 4th downs, and they lost the football game, but they couldn't make it. So you've got to be able to, you don't think he's going to go back and work on that? He's not going to lose another football game like that. But you've got to be able to be pushed and challenged and have the national attention of your whole nation. That could have been unbelievable. And who do I blame on that? I blame only the administration who succumbed to someone saying we don't want to play them or whatever happened to allow it to get to that state. So it starts at the top, and AD's not going to make a change unless that AD wants to make a change. If Mike Garrett was the AD, and nothing against Cohen, okay? If Mike Garrett was the AD, he would tell Lincoln Riley, if he was the coach for Mike Garrett, hey, Mike, or hey, Lincoln, if you don't want to play them, I'll get somebody else to coach the team. That's exactly what he would have said. Do you remember the days when they played Arkansas, and after they beat Arkansas so badly that 3 players from Arkansas, the 3 best players, transferred to USC? That's true, because they knew the type of program and they wanted to be a part of it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago. Last time USC scored 70-7 or something like that. Yeah, I believe. But I think at the time it got canceled. A little like a year and a half ago, or a year and a few months ago, and so the conference realignment I think was a big part of it, and the SEC was going to be moving to 9 games and all that. But yeah, it would have been much better to see like an Ole Miss team. But Don, I would just chill a little bit. I mean, it's not a step up from air. There's actual players that are playing in the game. They can do some things. There's something to be said from playing that. It's not that bad. I think I've seen a bunch of games where or other opponents to start the seasons were overmatched, and they were going toe to toe. I mean, I didn't think USC would cover the spread on this. It was 35.5, and I was way, way, way wrong on that one. But Michigan was favored by about the same over Old Dominion, who were like pretty terrible, and that was a game. Like I think they won by 17, and it was, the Michigan needed a later reception. I mean, there's stuff to be learned from that, and so I would say, okay, it's not an abomination. Like I think you're a little hyperbolic here. I get it. USC has plenty of a tough schedule. There's a couple cream puffs on it. So be it. You were hoping to see USC play former head coach Lane Kiffin, and now they're going to play former head coach Clay Helton. But whatever, you take what you can get. So I wouldn't go that far. That's an abomination, and it was like playing air.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Should USC back away from anybody?
No. I would like to see. I didn't want to see them get away with the Notre Dame game. I'd much rather seen Ole Miss play. But last year they played LSU, who was could have potentially been a playoff team, and Notre Dame in the non-conference.
They beat them too.
I know in the non-conference.
If you don't play them, you can't beat them. If you don't play them, you're not going to beat them.
I'm not getting on USC for schedules, knowing that that they're playing 9 Big Ten games and Notre Dame. Anything else after that is like gravy. So if your gravy's a little watery for 1 year, like that's fine. Like it wasn't watery last year. Like whatever. I'm not getting on too much.
You got, this is what's great about you, Ryan. You got your philosophy and your loyalty and all of that. I'm as a coach, okay?
Yes.
I'm a coach that says if I'm coaching at USC, I'll play anybody, and I think that's what I'd sell to my players. That's what I'd sell to the alumni, and I'd say that's what we do. Now, I'm not saying we play all 12 games like that, but I'd give my fans and my players the challenge of playing that type of schedule.
Yeah. We have one email, and he didn't leave a name, but it says, Coach, there were a few chunk plays for Missouri State, both through the air and on the ground. Did any of those plays, individually or collectively, worry you? I think there was the 4th down play. That was one of the big ones. But any thoughts on giving up a few big plays, Coach?
Well, yeah, it always concerns you when you give up a big play, no matter what the play is, a design play, a trick play, whatever. Like last year, do you remember the game at Penn State when the guy they spread out all over the field and they didn't call timeout and they threw the ball to Warren for a touchdown, the tight end from Penn State? Hey, you got to be prepared for that stuff, and that was a trick play. And if you don't know what you're doing, call a timeout. Don't give up a touchdown. So anytime you give up a big play or a touchdown, somebody didn't do something right, or somebody was just out handled. They weren't good enough to make the play. The guy over him just dominated him. We call that domination block. Dominate him. And sometimes the guy didn't have a choice. He's just being dominated, and that happens. But anytime that you have a big play against you or there's a breakdown, it always brings a thought to your mind of why that happened. How can we correct that? Was it our fault? Was it the player's fault? Are we giving them too much to think about? Especially if it's a breakdown in the secondary. Why did they have a breakdown in the secondary? What was it that confused them in the secondary? Who made the call? All of that above. And if it's getting where you're out of sync and you don't have a timeout.
Yeah.
Timeout. Don't give up the big play. So, yeah, every time there's a breakdown or a mistake, certainly I'm concerned about it.
And the touchdown was a 4th and 5 from the 33. And I forget there was the breakdown. There was a breakdown, I think breakdown in the coverage, and so they end up scoring a touchdown on that one. But like I said, there wasn't air. Like there's actual players. Like that, the quarterback is actually really good. I don't think he has a great cast around him, so it's hard. And he got sacked a bunch, and that was tough. But it certainly wasn't playing against air. It's not playing against yourself, where you're just not sure what's going on. There was real bodies out there that were trying to win. And this is a program that has a lot of pride. They just moved up from FCS to FBS. So I wouldn't overreact. You wouldn't say, "Oh my God, USC's the number 1 team in the country because they put up 73 points." But you can't be like, this means absolutely nothing. Like I just don't buy that.
Let me ask you this question: where would you rank them in the country? They weren't ranked in the top 25, or they were in the 20. Where would you put them
for USC?
You saw yesterday? Yeah.
See, I thought USC could have been like a top 25 team. Early season, it's really hard to tell. But I think this could be, I would have them like in the, if I feel like they're projected to be like an 8-4, 9-3 kind of team, I think putting them in the 20s is fine. And then if you like beat Illinois on the road, I think you can move up, and until that, I don't think you move up for beating Purdue or Michigan State. But I think USC could have started in the 20s, and that would have been completely fine. If you can go on the road and beat a top 12 type of team, if they're still that, then you're like, okay, this team can be for real. And then I think but right now it's hard to tell. They made a lot of changes, I think positive changes in the offseason, Coach. Not all of them are on the field of personnel, strength and conditioning, things like that. But I feel like they've changed a lot of the stuff in the background and the culture. And like, okay, I think that could have positive results. But you've been 13-11 in regular season the last 2 years. This was, to me, more of a prove it kind of thing. I don't know if Saturday proves anything, but I wouldn't have a problem if you felt that this team was good enough to be in the 20s. And then if you win some of those big games, especially on the road, then, moving up there. I don't know what you think, Coach.
I do. I think they have the personnel, if they properly use them and put them in positions to win. I think they could be in the top 20 or better if they utilize their personnel right. I really believe that, because I watch a lot of these teams, and I'm not quite sure how good they are. I watched Baylor get beat yesterday, and they had 18 starters back or 17 starters back, and they were supposed to be one of the top teams or possibly win the Big 12, and they got beat. I think they can play with those people when they come to play, and they are ready to play those type of people. So, I think they could do that. Being there, talking it, though, and doing it, it's two different things. I want to see them do it. And it's hard for me to say right now how good I can say they are. I could look and say how good they could be if they did the proper things to help this team get better and also put the people in the right position to win.
Yeah. Clemson's one of those teams that a lot of people felt could win the national championship. They brought so much back.
Oh no,
and
yeah.
and they play an LSU team that lost a lot. Like USC lost a lot, LSU lost a lot. I think LSU addressed a lot of needs in the portal and tried to fix stuff, and I think USC did the same thing. And LSU went in there on the road and won. You know, they hadn't won an opener in 5 years or whatever, and that was Brian Kelly's first opener. So I mean, USC athletically was toe for toe with LSU last year. You know, still finished 6-6. They were better. You know, they were a better team than what their record was, or they should have been with the talent. And now you're like, okay, well, if you're going to play up to that talent level, which maybe USC does this year, I mean, who can't you beat? I mean, LSU screwed up a bunch of games, and you know they got their quarterback back, and you know, similar. I think had a similar path to USC, that USC beat that team last year, and they go into Clemson and win. Could USC go into Notre Dame and win, or go into Oregon and win? Like, yeah, why not? Like, I think they're capable of doing that. They didn't do any of that last year, so it's hard to say, oh yeah, they can do it. But I feel like the schedule sets up pretty well, Coach, that you're not losing the first 2 games. You should win the next 2. And then you got Illinois going on the road. And, you know, they look pretty good, I think, in week 1 from the little bit I saw of that. You get a win against a ranked team like that with their quarterback coming back and a lot of excitement around that program. And then I think it's like, okay, all bets are off. This team has a higher ceiling than maybe a lot of people thought.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see, buddy. This is why we talk about it.
Yes.
They decide we're right or wrong. And remember, everybody knows that this is just our opinion of what we saw, and everybody has their opinion. There are some right, there's some wrong, and there's some people that got better, and there's some people that really weren't evaluated properly or whatever. And I always used to say I wish I knew it in advance and I'd have called a different play. I wouldn't have called that interception. But, you know, we're easy. It's easy for us to sit back here and come up with all the answers here on a Sunday, but I enjoyed talking football with you and all of our listeners out there. We thank them very much for sending in or emailing us or voice message on any questions we can ask you. Please do that. We can do therapy with you. We can do anything you want us to do with you.
Shouldn't be any therapy the first month. If there is, that's bad. That's a bad sign, Coach. Then I'll agree that the opener was an abomination. If you don't start 4-0, that one's just going to be bad. But yeah, it's great stuff. You mentioned seeing. It's great seeing you on the podcast for the very first time.
Thank you.
Yeah, how long were we been at 2008? You know, that's many years. You know, so more than 15 years, and we got the video aspect going now. So we appreciate you, Coach, and appreciate everyone out there who's listened or watched the Peristyle Podcast. We're gonna have, if you're watching this, we have Tunnel Vision Sunday night. Normally have Coach on Monday, so we won't do that. Connor and I will be back on Wednesday, and then we'll have another Tunnel Vision on Thursday night, previewing USC's next opponent, the Fighting Clay Heltons at Georgia Southern. So for Coach Harvey Hyde, this is Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.